Hey there, welcome to Talking Texas Politics with Calvin. Wanted to chat with everybody today. We are coming to the end of the legislative session, so it's been a long session. Coming to the end of the session is not always a bad thing, so I certainly sleep better when I know the Texas legislature is not in session. However, there is many disappointments. One of the biggest disappointments was that there was a really good opportunity for the Texas legislature to give meaningful property tax relief. So if you live in Texas, you know you probably just got your property tax appraisal, and you know that your property tax appraisal has skyrocketed again. And so you know that your property taxes are going to continue to increase. And to deal with that, out of the $24 billion surplus that the Texas legislature had to work with, they gave you about $3.5 billion in property tax relief, which is, it's nothing. And so your property taxes are going to continue to go up. So there was some numbers that was put out from the House, and so they were saying that they gave $51 billion in property tax relief. So that is very misleading. So what they've done is they're adding up all of the property tax relief that they have given us in the history of giving us property tax relief. And so when your legislator comes around and they tell you, we gave you $51 billion in property tax relief, you know what they're talking about. They actually gave you $3.5 billion out of the surplus for the property tax relief. Now, to put that in context, if they had to give you $51 billion in new property tax relief, that would have been about $7,000 per Texas home. So guess what? Most of the folks in Texas wouldn't have a property tax bill if they actually gave you $51 billion in additional property tax relief this session. So they're going to try and mislead you like they always do. And then they're going to talk about their conservative budget. So let me just ask you this. A conservative budget over the last two legislative sessions has went up over 40%. It's like 41%. So they have increased the budget by 41% the last two legislative sessions, and they're calling that a conservative budget. And so I think the spending in Texas is really out of control, and there's something that that's an area where they really need to crack down on. And so if they had taken the surpluses out of the last two legislative sessions, then they would have been on a pathway to eliminating property taxes. But they're not going to do that because there's too many people in Austin walking the halls down there that want to spend your money on things that they would like and give your money to them. So all of the lobbyists down there are lobbying for money to be spent in certain areas. And so unfortunately, that's where us, Joe taxpayer, loses. And so now there was a number of folks who voted against the budget, and there was a number of folks who also came out and were demanding that we eliminate property taxes. But yet many of those same legislators voted on additional spending. So you really can't have it both ways. You can't say that I don't support the budget, or I don't support or I support the elimination of property taxes, and then on the other hand, just continue to support spending. It just doesn't work that way. And so that is disappointing on many cases for them. So, so I'm just going to give you a little piece of advice for those legislators. If you really want to eliminate property taxes or give us like meaningful property tax relief, then stop spending, and certainly stop new spending. If you just stop new spending, we would have had a lot more money for property tax relief. So that was probably one of the most disappointing things of this legislative session in my eyes. And now a lot of the spending, which I've talked about before, things like school choice, $1 billion here, things like providing money to Hollywood actors, a couple of billion here. Those billions add up, and those billions could come back to hardworking Texans and help us pay down our property taxes. But unfortunately, our property taxes are going to continue to increase. And so that is the disappointing thing in this session. So the next time we talk, we're going to talk a little bit about um, bonds, so school bond taxes. So I have some thoughts on that because there was a number of bonds that were passed around the state uh, this year as well. So we'll talk about that next time on Talking Texas Politics with Calvin. But when your legislators come around and they tell you that they passed a conservative budget, that is absolutely laughable. And when they come around and tell you that they gave you $51 billion in property tax relief, that is also laughable and extremely misleading. So hold them accountable for what they've done, ask the right questions, and make sure that they know that you know what they've done this legislative session. So thank you all. I appreciate you tuning in, and God bless you, and God bless Texas.